What's going on, everybody? This is Clint with the Die Hard MMA podcast. This podcast was filmed exclusively for odds.com. Be sure to click the link below. Check it out. We've got everything that you need over there. We've got you covered for every sport. Thank you so much for the support and good luck on all your action this week. There we go. I like that. Okay, here we go. The big time is here. Main event for UFC 258. Kamaru Usman taking on Gilbert freaking Burns. My name is Clint. This is the Die Hard MMA podcast. We have 400 live viewers. Thank you all so much for spending your Monday nights here with me. And we are joined by my special guest, Matt Holt, the president of US Integrities, cutting some time out to talk sports betting and fights with us. What a fight. I mean, this thing has everything, right? You've got a long-time dominant champion, one of the best wrestlers we have ever seen in Usman, and maybe also one of the most unlikable personalities in MMA today, combined with Gilbert Burns, an overnight sensation, a deadly finisher, with the betrayal, with the personal storyline that he's turning on his former training partner, Kamaru Usman, to try and get that gold strap. Like, this main event has it all, Matt. I am pumped.
Yeah, this is a good one. The problem here for me is I think I'm a little further down. Look, I couldn't bet more or been more excited about Gilbert Burns' chances against Tyron Woodley, but that's mostly because I thought Woodley was shot. And while Burns has looked amazing since moving up to 170, he hasn't exactly fought a murderer's row of 170 pounders. Gunnar Nelson, a grappler, you can't out-grapple Gilbert Burns, especially in a submission game. Damian Maia, again, over 40-year-old submission guy who can't handle strikes, got punched in the face and went to sleep. An old shot, Tyron Woodley, and Burns looked amazing, especially in the first round of that fight. But again, considering the Tyron Woodley we're seeing these days, that fight wasn't amazing either. I just don't know who he's beat, and I get the fact that we need some fresh challengers in this division. Usman already beat Covington. He already beat Masvidal. Woodley's shot. Who are we supposed to put him in there with? This fight makes all the sense in the world from, who's available. Burns is red hot. But at the end of the day, I don't see a scenario really where Gilbert Burns wins this fight. And I want to because, like you said, Kamaru Usman might be the most unlikable personality of any UFC champion we've ever seen. He's like, I'm boring and I don't care. I don't care if you don't want to watch me. You can't stop what I do. I don't care if you don't like it.
And he's also kind of a dick.
Yes. He's just kind of a dick. And at the end of the day, his style isn't that exciting, but he is a lot bigger and stronger than Gilbert Burns. And number one, we have seen Gilbert Burns hurt and knocked out in the past. He hasn't fought any of those guys lately, but he hasn't fought guys lately that could hurt him. I mean, Tyron Woodley's old. Damian Maia is not hurting anyone in the feet. I'm not saying Gilbert Burns' chin didn't get better or his striking certainly has gotten better, at least offensively, but we haven't seen if his striking defense has got better because he hasn't fought any strikers. He's literally fought 4 straight grapplers. So how do we have any idea whether his striking defense is any better or not? Because it used to not be very good. His kryptonite was always you could hit and hurt Gilbert Burns. And guys that at the time, I think, Dan Hooker had just moved up from 145. He knocked out Gilbert Burns, and Gilbert Burns was very hittable back then and had gas tank issues. I think his cardio has gotten a lot better, but his cardio is not in the same stratosphere as Kamaru Usman, who is a cardio machine and is going to push the pace heavy. He's going to get him against the fence. He's going to push that ridiculously hard pace where he attempts takedown constantly. And when he's not, he's hitting you in the side, and he's hitting you in the side, and he's elbowing you in the head, and none of it hurts. And it's super boring, but it makes you work every second of every round, and it is exhausting to try to deal with. Everyone who fights Kamaru Usman says it is so exhausting to deal with that man's style. And because of that, I just don't really see how – I get that there are paths to victory. Usman, who suddenly Gilbert Burns, who seems to have developed a big right hand, could certainly hit him and hurt him. After an Usman takedown, who better to lock up a slick submission than Gilbert Burns? There's plenty of paths to victory. Unfortunately, in this scenario, I just don't think any of them are going to happen. I hate to not bet the main event because it's the main event, but at this point, I have no bets, and I'm less excited. And this is what I think that where people make a mistake, novice bettors in the UFC. I can watch a UFC fight with no bets and thoroughly enjoy it and try to learn something from it. Whereas I want to make sure I make money consistently. That's why people continue to look to people like you, Clint, and myself for advice on how can we make money long term, is we don't react emotionally to these cards. The emotional reaction here is to bet Gilbert Burns because he's hotter. You like him. He's won impressively recently. But when you break down this matchup on paper, I don't think it looks that it's a very good matchup favorably for Gilbert Burns.
So we finally got another one where we disagree a little bit here, Matt. I've been all in on the Burns train ever since he moved up to 170, and I love this guy. And I think the betrayal edge here is something to be said. And I'm going to spit a bit of a hot take here that some people may not like, but this fight was supposed to go down a couple months ago, and it didn't, because Usman pulled out for unsighted reasons and then went and started training at Team Elevation with Justin Gaethje. I think that Usman knows damn well that Gilbert Burns is a handful. And I think he wanted some time to prepare for a man who knows his inside and out and did not want to have a fight with him that quick. I truly believe that he went, whoa, we need some time here, and got out of Dodge so that he could get a game plan ready to go for Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns, to your point about the knockout with Dan Hooker had just moved up a weight class, which was the right move for him. He was cutting too much weight. He was too small. He was killing himself. Burns was still killing himself. Burns, I have no idea how that guy ever made 155. And that was the last fight he had at 155. He's had no durability problems since. And I know you mentioned he's been fighting a lot of grapplers lately, but he wasn't really a guy that looked chinny until Dan Hooker hurt him. And after Dan Hooker hurt him, he's never really given the impression of being chinny since. And he went a barn-burning round one with Mike Davis in 2019, where, yeah, he decided to go for the submission, but they went to war in that first round. I mean, he has shown me nothing but positives. And I think that if there's a guy that's got more ways than one to win, it's definitely Burns here. And I think that him training all these years with Kamaru Usman, he knows how to go 5 rounds. He knows how to wrestle better than any of the other jiu-jitsu players at 170. I think the combination of his wrestling being better than people expect and then his black belt in jiu-jitsu that he's blended so well together, I think that's a problem for Kamaru Usman, and I think he's the better striker. So I think that this is going to be a very competitive fight. I think it's going to be very, very good. Gilbert Burns can get the finish. I think Gilbert Burns can survive with Usman because he's been doing it for years in the gym, day in and day out. I don't think a 25-minute stint is going to be too much for him to handle. And I think the wider this line gets, the more I like it. So all you people listening, we've got 400 live viewers. If you're with Matt, bet it now. If you're with me, sit tight and don't do a damn thing, because nothing but Usman money is coming in. I want to see plus 250. I want to see plus 275. If you can give me Gilbert Burns at plus 300, I'm going to do a backflip. Like, I'm just going to sit it out. I'm just going to wait and see how wide this line gets. And the other thing for me is that I've been on this train. Like, I've done nothing but bet on Gilbert Burns since he moved up to 175. We're on a 6-fight win streak, folks. You can only ride a streak once. Maybe Gilbert Burns' streak comes to an end on Saturday. Maybe Usman is the guy that grinds him out and finally stops that runaway freight train. But I've done nothing but cash tickets and fill my pockets with money betting on Gilbert Burns, and I'm not stopping until someone makes me. So I'm on the Burns train. I'm all in. And mostly because I really don't like Usman and I just want to see his face get knocked off. I hope Gilbert finishes him on Saturday. I think all the options are on the table. He can squeeze away with some rounds, being the more active person. And like I said, I don't think Usman is going to have the the grappling advantage here like he's mostly used to. Watch the fight when he fought Colby. They didn't wrestle because they both knew how good their wrestling was. I think there's a reason that Usman is training with Justin. He needs to get his striking on point for Gilbert. You know what I mean? I think this is going to be more of a stand-up affair than it is going to be a wrestling match because Gilbert Burns knows he knows Usman's little tricks in that space. I think it's going to be competitive, and I just hope it's fun. What I might do is bet not only Gilbert Burns in the later rounds. You all know I love my sprinkles, my round props. I might bet both Burns and Usman in rounds 4 and 5 because I think this thing gets late. And we saw Usman break Colby Covington's jaw in the 5th round. If Gilbert Burns, in fact, doesn't have the gas tank to go deep with Usman, Usman probably does the same thing to him. And I also think that if Burns is getting he's getting the best of these situations on the feet, I think that Usman's durability won't hold up for 25 minutes of it. So we probably see a late knockout from Burns as well. So if you just do a couple of little sprinkles, take a unit up and chop it into 4 pieces and go Usman round 4, round 5, Burns round 4, round 5. You don't care who finishes this fight as long as someone does it and does it late. That's money right there. Usman in round 5 is 20-1. Usman in round 4 is 14-1. And then Burns in round 5 is 32-1. Burns in round 4 is 25-1. Folks, like if you don't want to do anything else but just chop one unit up and sprinkle those round props, you can have yourself a fun night. Sit back and relax, watch the fight, and then all of a sudden you're sweating the second you get halfway through that 3rd round because you're knocking on the door of a nice big cash. So I think that might be a fun little way to play the fight. And if we want to talk about how it's going to play out, I mean, the total they've got set here is at 4.5. So the judges are expecting this thing to go late, and it's juiced minus 140 to the over. Matt, do you want to kind of talk on the total here? Do you have a look one way or the other on that?
No, I do think that if you're going to play somebody in the later rounds, it's probably more likely to be Kamaru Usman getting the KO finish of Burns in 4 or 5. I actually think if Burns is going to get a KO, it's going to have to come early.
Probably comes early.
Yeah, because he's a big puncher, and he throws a big right hand. He doesn't try to throw volume like Usman does. Usman overwhelms you with volume. Burns is a one strike at a time striker. Always has been in his entire career. I don't really like the under here either. I think the over 140 is about right. I just see this thing being Usman decision. Dude, I love you, and I'm with you, and I don't like Usman either. And I cashed on Gilbert Burns versus Woodley too. But I think we're bringing a little bit of emotion into this thing. At the end of the day, he doesn't have a gas tank, Gilbert Burns, that's built for 5 rounds. At the end of the day, he has had a perfect matchmaking trail. Ooh, Damian Maia, and all these grapplers who don't strike him back. And now all of a sudden I'm at the title against the guy who's relentless pressure. Who in his recent run at welterweight put any pressure on him? Not old Tyron Woodley, not Damian Maia, not Gunnar Nelson, not Alexei Kunchenko. There's nobody.
That's a very valid point, Matt. It's a very, very valid point. I don't know. I believe in the guy, and
I want to.
Maybe that's recency bias. Maybe that's me having success with him and hoping for more. But you know, the other thing is Kamaru Usman. I'm kind of trying to time the downfall here.
Yes, and there will be one.
I think that he, you know, this guy, he's talked about how he's got no cartilage on his knees. He can't run. You know what I mean? He can't. There's certain things this man can't do because his body is literally breaking down on him because of all the wrestling he's done.
I actually thought Leon Edwards would have beat him. If Leon Edwards would have got that title shot, I liked Leon Edwards' ability to throw combinations early, and I think he could have hit and hurt Kamaru Usman early in ways that Colby couldn't have, that Woodley couldn't have. Because let's face it, Usman hasn't fought a ton of bangers either.
Exactly.
And I thought Leon Edwards could have given him a whole new aspect to deal with. And unfortunately, we never got to see that fight.
Matt, who knows? We all know that the uncrowned king is Khamzat Chimaev, and he's gonna
for sure.
He's gonna get up here and just wreck everybody. But
I would
I'm
bet
going to
him
take my
today
shot.
versus Usman. If they
Exactly.
fought today, I would bet Chimaev.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to take my shot. I'm going to take my swing with my boy Gilbert Burns, especially with as wide of a line as we have here. I'm not going to be betting a plus 140 with Gilbert Burns. I'm betting a plus 240 with Gilbert Burns. So remember, everybody, this is sports betting. We're talking percentages. We're talking gambling. It's not necessarily just fighter A is going to win. That's not how this game works in the long run. So I like the chance that Gilbert Burns has, and I like the price tag that I'm getting on him to get there.